trade shows, conferences, virtual, hybrid, or in person. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our Patreon and PayPal sponsorship options. To learn more, visit macvoices.com/support. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is part 3 in a conversation we had with the MacVoices Live panel about the 1-year anniversary of the lockdown and working from home and what it has meant to all of us. In this final part, the panel took the conversation in an unexpected direction and zoomed out to a 30,000-foot level to discuss conferences and trade shows, and whether we will go back to being in person, whether we will be staying virtual, or whether it will be a hybrid as we move forward into the new normal. So let's go right back to the discussion.
I can't even begin to tell you how many meetings I had to sit in where someone flew in and wanted to talk, and then just as the meeting was coming up, I was like, yes, I can get back to work, to only hear, so where are we going for lunch? And I'm just like,
Yep.
never again.
Or the guys that fly in and say, yeah, I'm here, but I've got to make my flight back.
Yeah.
And they never accomplish what they came for in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I sympathize with that a lot because, before pre-pandemic, air travel was tough. I mean, travel time, security, all that stuff. And it's going to be interesting how that translates to, should we just do it over Zoom and then we have all the time we need, or we can allocate more time if we need it easily. I don't have to worry about catching a flight back. I don't know how many conferences that I went to, business conferences that, okay, half the attendees, on the second or third day are, they're bringing their luggage in with them, and okay, it's noon, I got to go. Even though the agenda said we were supposed to go till 3 or 4, I've got a flight out, I got to go. And it became completely acceptable. And it's like, I don't understand this. If I've invested the time to come here, I'm going to stay the whole way through. And
yeah, I don't understand that either. Like WWDC, I always stay till Saturday.
Yeah, Jeff?
I have a hypothesis on that. And this comes from years and years of going to conferences and seeing how people act. My strategy when going to a conference was you fly in the day before, you fly out the day after. That way you have a buffer zone if your flight in is canceled, and you're there for the whole thing because you're leaving the day after. A lot of people, just based on observations, I think, go to conferences and see it as sort of a paid vacation from work, and so for them, when it gets to the last day, because they're not invested in what the event really is, they're done. They want to be out, and so they're out. Or they had an employer who didn't see the full value in what they were doing and booked them a cheap flight back, which screwed up with their ability to attend the whole conference.
Sometimes it does feel like somebody's trying to be a little bit in the cool kids club of like, well, I only have this time because I'm flying right out. Even if I know they built their, months around the event, you'll still see it with some people.
I think I see a lot of what Jeff's talking about of people that aren't really invested. And, I remember back in the day, and this doesn't happen now so much because it's, so hard to get tickets, but there used to be a lot of people at WWDC that I think, it was just like what Jeff said. Well, their work would pay them to go to San Francisco for a week. And, I even, saw people that wouldn't even go to, any of the sessions or very few of the sessions. Maybe go to the keynote and that's it. But it's like, oh, woohoo, I get to be, in San Francisco. And that was really the purpose of the trip. But for me, I always did what you do, Jeff. I like to get there the night before and, stay, I don't want to rush off at the end. I leave the next day. But, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, but, I want to go see my kids, or, if it's like a Monday to Friday thing, I don't want it to take up part of my weekend. This is that's my time. So, for me, it was like my business and my, my passion. So I wanted to get the most out of the event, but everybody's not like that. And of course, it probably depends on the conference too. A lot of conferences are, no fun at all, medical equipment or something, that's work. Get
I was wondering,
the hell out of here.
Does anyone miss connecting flights?
I never flew connecting.
Yeah, you
try not
just in
to.
Denver. I'm in Los Angeles. What's a connecting flight?
Are you live on the East
Chicago,
Coast?
same.
From Denver, I'm already halfway to everything. So
Yeah,
it's
In
a direct
this
flight.
country.
If it takes a connecting flight, I'm not going.
yeah.
Jim,
I've
one
spent
of-
many a night on airport floors, unfortunately.
Oh yeah.
Ugh,
Um,
no.
But I listen. I confess, I'm one of those. I have been one of those people that will leave with one day or another half day to go, for two reasons. First of all, I only have so much vacation from the office, so I've got to try to conserve some. But more importantly, half the exhibitors, and it fascinates me at CES. Half the exhibitors are gone on the last day or the last half of the day. And what they're paying for that space is unbelievable. And yet they cut out. And so
It's
as a
even worse
result,
than that, Chuck. Not only have they paid a lot of money to cut out early, because they still have the space that they have to pay for, but they're paying a penalty for packing up early. Every conference will charge you a hefty fee if you're packing up ahead of what they say the end time is, or like if you're just gone, you're going to pay quite a penalty.
Wow.
And it's interesting, like our company sponsors events, like that's the thing. And we've even said, like, now that things are virtual, there are two problems. The sponsors aren't getting what they want out of it. People coming and talking with their reps and all that stuff. But also the conferences themselves, they're not meeting expectations, and a lot of it, in my opinion, has come down to really one word: free. A lot of people said, we don't want to do a paid conference because it's going to be virtual. We don't know what's going to happen. So they say, oh, it's a free event. Come and stop by. And people do stop by for a second. Then they go, well, I could keep watching this video that'll probably be on YouTube in about an hour, or I could go get lunch, or I could go do something else, or I could go sleep. And the sponsors are saying, we don't want anything to do with it. Just like at the beginning of the pandemic, sponsors were saying, podcasting, slash the advertising budgets, all that crazy stuff. Now they start to see the value in it, and now they want a part of it. But that value hasn't been realized in the virtual conference space. And the hard part about that is virtual conferences can be more effective if done properly. You have the ability to reach people that would never fly to San Jose, that would never fly to San Francisco, that would never come to wherever you're hosting your conference. And now you're able to get them paying attention, but you have to figure out the value proposition there, because if you say it's free, they'll show up, but they're probably not going to stay. At least not
They're
for
not
long.
invested in it. You have to charge for that sense of investment.
And you can charge for online conferences.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, sure.
yeah. But I think that comes back, Jay, to my point about the some of the Zoom meetings and the fact that from what I've seen, you need to be delivering that value proposition in a Zoom meeting, or people are going to cut out. Or one of the things I'm finding is becoming more and more socially acceptable is just to turn my camera off. I'm probably already muted anyway, so I'm not interrupting the speaker. If they haven't muted me, I've muted myself. But now, it's cool to turn your camera off. And that means I could be at the refrigerator digging out a sandwich, or I could be, out walking the dog, but I'm still appear to be there. And so, I personally try not to turn my camera off unless I have a need to do so, because I want the meeting organizers to know I'm there, I'm present, I'm paying attention, but I do expect you to be delivering something of value to me, or I may turn my camera off and then not be being as attentive as I should be.
I was going to bring up two things. Well, we talked about CES. Yeah, it was a challenge to have CES this year. It was all virtual, but I think CES, they learned a lot from it. I mean, I think they're going to probably continue on with it. Do it as a hybrid. People can still attend virtually, or they can come and visit in person in Vegas. Same thing with my Apple user group in Chicago. I can now, my audience is wide open, because I would get people who would never show up to our meetings in person. But now I'm getting people that are showing up all the time virtually. And then Frank was able to join because he's in Jersey, and now he can attend the meetings because we're doing them virtual. So, and I think other Apple user groups are doing the same thing. But just my point is, I think both in this example of CES and Apple user groups, you got the potential to have a bigger audience and having more and more people that will attend it. WWDC, another good example from last year, but they had something like 2 million. I don't even know what the number was, but it was a huge amount of people that attended. It would have not have normally been allowed to attend because of travel expenses, as well as paying to go into the conference, which is a hefty price as it is anyway. So
I feel like that was a little bit of a false number, though, because
whatever it was,
people talked about, it's so great and accessible, and literally the only difference is the videos were shorter. That was the only difference, because I've watched all those videos before. Well, that's not true. The other thing was they had the labs open, which is that's great, and they should forever always have some virtual labs, but most of the things that we associate with a conference, they didn't have an alternative for it at all.
Yeah.
It wasn't a conference. It was a time when videos drop.
Yeah,
and
WWDC has been hybrid for several years. Because you could watch it live since about 2017. So the difference last year was they didn't even really have a live component, like you said. They just dropped videos, and they all dropped at 10 in the morning or whatever. And
plus they charge for it.
But you could watch it live before, and it didn't cost anything.
You could only watch the keynote and a couple of
No,
the other ones you could watch within an hour or two. At the very least.
Well, they would dump at about midnight.
Yeah, after the event.
You may have had to have been a developer. I'm not sure about that.
You had to be a part of the developer program, but not the paid one.
For the
$99. Or maybe you didn't even have to be
but
that.
I could see them.
At the most, it was $99, and anybody could watch. So, and you could watch live. They even had an app on Apple TV, so you could actually watch them live. And then about midnight each day, they would dump that day. So there had to be huge numbers even before this year. That because Apple's problem was they can only get 5,000 people in the room. And, who knows how many people want to go? 50,000? I don't know. I guess Apple knows now because they have a lottery. It'd be interesting. They're not telling, but it'd be interesting to know how many people enter in the lottery. But yeah, and so this year a lot of them were shorter because they didn't have to fill up a live slot. In the past, a lot of them, I think, it's like, well, we got an hour, so we'll put 3 topics. And this year they're just like, oh, screw it. We'll make 3 separate videos, but still the same material. It's just, they would separate it, which was kind of nice. I wonder what, they might do in the future. Like, maybe even if they have a live event, they were even actually in 2019, they had some sessions that had no live component at all. There was about 20 sessions in 2019 that were just video drops. And they weren't presented on the stage. So they were already heading in that direction. And I wonder if, in the future, who knows, obviously this year it's not going to be live, but what about next year in the future? Will they even bring it back? But if they do, maybe it'll be, sort of a hybrid. And, I know for me that I didn't even, I went in 2018, 2019. In 2019, I think I only attended 4 sessions in person. I watched some of them from my hotel room live, and I watched a lot of them afterwards. But for me, the big value is labs and meeting people in person. And I hung out mostly at AltConf at the top of the escalator, and you met all kinds of it was like the great thing about WWDC is all these people come to it, and they have some sessions too, but.
Well, I think it's interesting, and we're over time, so we got to wrap. But we've often said on this show about there's nothing like the face to face at WWDC, at CES, at MacWorld, at MacStock, and we're not going to have MacStock this year because of the pandemic. There's nothing like that in person thing. I do think though that now people may appreciate that in person a little more if you're serious about, from our perspective, covering the show or meeting the people. If you're just there to, hang out by the pool, well, maybe you won't do it. And if you're a bit more casual about the whole thing, then maybe you'll do the hybrid or the virtual thing. I've often kind of questioned some of the news outlets. And look, I get it. There are budgetary considerations. But there's some places that could definitely afford to send people, and they just didn't. They just kind of didn't bother. And that always bothered me a little bit. So this edition of MacVoices is supported by you, our viewers and listeners, through our Patreon and PayPal sponsorship options. To learn more, visit macvoices.com/support. If you get value from MacVoices, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/macvoices. You get access to the MacVoices Thinking Posts, exclusive Patreon-only video chats, as well as having your name in the credits of each MacVoices show for the months you support. Having you as a MacVoices patron helps us pay the bills and keep building and improving MacVoices. Or if one-time support is more your speed, use our PayPal option. You too will get your name in the show notes of every MacVoices episode for the month you contribute. Or you can support the show by writing a review in iTunes or buying through our affiliate links. Neither of these costs you anything, but they help MacVoices a great deal. Again, macvoices.com/support. Thanks to everyone who contributes to keep MacVoices firing on all cylinders. I don't know.
It was the same thing like the last couple of years of the Macworld Expo. mymac.com, which, all things considered, we had the biggest contingent of people there. We had like 6 or 7 people covering an event, and like the Macworld Expo. Whereas a lot of the big magazines, they'd come in for a day or two and then they'd leave. Or the bigger websites, they come in for a day and then they'd leave. All their people would be gone the next day, and we would be like all alone there in the big press room.
And that would anger me, Guy, because we're not going to call any names, but there's one particular outlet I can think of that showed up the first day or half of the first day and said, there's nothing here. Meanwhile, your people, me, Jeff, we're hanging out back in the corner on all the little booths, finding all the cool stuff, and it's like, there's a lot of stuff here. They just didn't bother
the time to look.
They just did not bother to do the legwork.
And honestly, to me, that's the difference between a virtual conference and a real and a in-person conference. With a in-person conference, you can go and get into the nooks and crannies that the person that would spend 6 hours to set up a tiny corner of a table in Tiny Town, and you could see the passion of whatever it was that they were making and presenting. Whereas, you can take the most trivial of products and build a huge flashy website around it and make it look like it's great, but it's not necessarily really going to reflect what it is that the product does.
Right. Amen. Amen.
And I know you're wrapping up, but I think another thing on that is it doesn't help when every platform and every virtual conference is different. When you have to reorganize and figure out where you're going to look in those nooks and crannies, like that's always a headache. Like that's the first thing that I do with like every conference I attend now is like, what program is this? All right, where's the help file for that thing? All right, this is how I do this. This is where the sponsor booth is and all those things. Like you said, I mean, it's just easier to be able to walk around and go, oh, that looks nice. Let me sit here and have a very organic conversation with someone.
But I can't let that go, Jay. One thing I will say, and I believe, I'm sorry, I forget who said it, that I think it was David, that they learned this year. I mean, there were a lot of there. I went to several, and I will say some were good, some were great, some were terrible. but you could understand kind of what they were trying to accomplish, and you understood why it either worked or it failed. And I don't want to call any names because those are just my opinions, but there were some I felt like, I got a lot out of, and I ended up with connecting with people. And then there were some, it's like, okay, I watched your video and I heard you gush about your product, but that was kind of it. And I could have gotten that out of just the video and the press release. So I think everybody, exhibitors, the conference people, everybody kind of learned some stuff, and it'll be interesting to see just what does happen if we go virtual again, or either completely or a hybrid. So, but I'm with you. Yeah, even now, just earlier tonight, I actually saw David there. I was on a brand new video presentation platform watching a presentation, and it's like, okay, I've never even heard of this platform. And that's like the fourth one in the last 3 weeks that I've never even heard of, but somebody decided, we're going to do this instead of using Zoom or Teams or something a bit more established. And, yes, some positives, some negatives, also just some flat out copycat stuff. So
there's a market for it now.
There's a big market for it.
For the online conferences, I've been to several over the past year or 12 months. And they're the different conference platforms that have sprung up, I found to be very interesting. And some felt like someone just slapped a skin onto Hangouts or Zoom, but then there are others where they try to create the feel of the hallway track in the whole thing, where you get assigned to a table. And there'd be other people assigned to a table, and it was just like your own little private room in the whole conference where you would interact with these people. Or there'd be different spaces set up for different topics, and you could come and go and just meet people there and have conversations. And it was all happening outside and concurrently to the sessions. Which I thought was very interesting and in some cases effective, and in other cases not so much. But I just thought it was interesting that they're trying to adapt some of these platforms to really serve as virtual conference systems.
Well, there was that service that was going on during MacStock, the virtual MacStock last year, where whoever it was that set it up actually had like parts of the McHenry College lunchroom and the auditorium, and you could walk around virtually.
Marina
and the closer
set that up.
Yeah. And the closer that you got to a group of avatars that each avatar represented a different person, whatever it was they were talking about, the volume would go up. And if you turned away, the volume would go down. I mean, it was brilliant. Whatever, I can't even remember what
that was an audio only, right?
No,
that one was.
It was Well, it sort of looked like old Mario Brothers type animation.
Yeah. But there was a cone that would follow
but
around.
You only interacted with people from audio. You didn't see other people, right? You just heard them.
No. It was all done with avatars.
Somebody did that at a WWDC, and I did that, and I thought it was terrible. I hated it, so I didn't even try it at MacStock because
it was probably the same thing.
I think it was the same thing. I think I remember that I saw. Oh yeah, that's that thing. I hate that. And
I thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant.
I was like, I felt like I was in a room blindfolded, and I didn't know who was talking. I couldn't follow things. I never knew. Couldn't get in a word edgewise because these other people. It was kind of like the worst of like when you come up to a group and they're all talking and except I was blind. So, but
you could go. Maybe have Second Life. Do a Second Life virtual conference.
I like the idea, but it just didn't. It didn't work for me. But I think we're in early days. There's going to be all kinds of things of whatever we're doing 5 years from now for interacting virtually. It's probably going to a lot of it will be similar, but there's probably going to be some neat stuff because people are just starting to think about what we can do. So, what we have right now in Zoom that's not the end of the story. So,
we know, Jim, that's how Chuck feels each week hosting this program.
Yeah.
I have a lot of feelings about hosting this program each week, but we won't get into that.
We can only imagine.
But no checks.
Yeah. Guys, thank you. Once again, we just can't say we never did get to the second topic because we dove into this one deep, but I'm glad. I hope that folks got something out of it. I think it is the overlap of this and tech, and the fact that tech is making these things possible deserves some really serious conversations. Because Jim's right, it is early days. We're going to see nothing but positive future developments. So let's go around the room right quick, let folks know where they can find you, and we'll get out of here. Jim, and I'll take my screen as it is now because I've completely lost track. Jim, you're up first.
Okay. I'm Jim. You can find me at proview.com, spelled like it says up on the screen there, and also on Twitter at proviewjim.
Great. Thanks for being here, Jim. And I also want to make sure that before I go to the next one, that Mark Fuccio was here with us. You can find him as at Mark Fuccio on Twitter. He did tell me he had a heart out, and he was very graciously just bowed out. We didn't get to say goodbye to him. So, Mark, thanks for being here again at Mark Fuccio. Jay, where can folks find you?
Yeah, so you can find me rambling on Twitter at KJY Miller, like it says on the screen, but with a K in front of that. And you can also check out kjmiller.com, where I have all the crazy shows that I do.
Jay, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Appreciate you taking time off from all those crazy shows to do this crazy show with these crazy people.
Yeah.
I've talked to a few of them, so I kind of knew what I was getting into.
And you came anyway.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Why didn't you tell me what I was getting into?
Checks in the mail.
Mr. Gamet, are you rambling on Twitter or are you rambling elsewhere?
Of course, I'm rambling on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Jay Gamet on both places. And today I shared pictures of chickens that I'm babysitting because why not?
Yeah.
Last week I was on In a Few Minutes on macOS Ken all week long, and Ken and I talked about just a lot of cool stuff. So go check that out. And hey, next week, right, Dave? I'm doing In Touch with iOS.
Yep.
So, yeah. And there's other shows that I should probably mention right now, and I'm just totally drawing a blank on. And so I'm sorry to all those people for forgetting.
Well, and you and I have something we're cooking up, and we just can't seem to find the time to do it. But we'll get there.
We will.
As soon as you don't have to babysit the chickens anymore.
Yeah, well,
he needs the eggs.
Really good eggs.
I'm so afraid. Frank, where can folks find you before we go down that road?
I've got 2 Twitter accounts. I have one at the real guy Serle, but the one you can usually find me at is at Petrie on Twitter. On Instagram at PHRANKY. You can go to my blog, which is YMPNOW.com. And I also am a regular contributor. Contributor?
Yeah, contributor. It's a good word.
Thank you. Regular contributor to Screencast Online Magazine.
Great. Thank you for being here, Frank.
Thanks for having
always
me.
A pleasure. It's always a pleasure. David Ginsburg, you and I share an industry together.
Yes, we do.
That has been interesting during this whole pandemic. Where can folks find you?
Find me at InTouchWithIOS at InTouchWithIOS.com. And you also can find me here on Tuesday nights, as well as on Wednesday nights with Guy Serle and Warren Sklar at the Mac to the Future live podcast, and on the Mac Show on Fridays. And find me on Twitter at DaveG65 and Instagram as well. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks for being here, Dave. In spite of the power outage, we really appreciate you
I was able to make it.
Yep, making the extra effort. I'm not sure, since somebody already introduced themselves as the real guy, Serle, I'm not sure if this is a fake or not, but the guy in the guy, G-U-Y, in the yellow shirt.
That would be
Or is it
other
me
guy,
in
Serle.
disguise?
I'm totally an imposter.
Yeah. Where can we find you, Guy?
You can find me over on the Twitters. I am Mac Parrot and VertShark. VertShark.com is the website. I occasionally drive in my car and say things live. That's Guy's Daily Drive. And of course, the mighty MyMac.com podcast for over 11 years now with Gaz and the aforementioned Mac to the Future Go livecast with David Ginsburg and Warren Sklar. So like, share, subscribe. Did you see it the first time? Like, share, subscribe. Somebody actually gave me hell because I forgot to do that one week.
You get me a
I
quote.
literally
on
never said
Corvair.
those words.
Yeah.
Someday I'll have to.
Yeah.
Well, Brittany, now's your chance because it's your turn. Where can we find you
Oh,
to
okay.
like, share, and subscribe?
Yeah, like, share, and
Oh,
subscribe.
goodness. Yeah, do those things. On Twitter, I'm ADD Liberator. My website is conquer.consulting. I do have some YouTube videos, although I am overdue for a new one. Doing real work totally gets in the way. And yeah, you can do those like, share, subscribe things there if you so desire. Then you'll know when I get around to making another one.
Hit that notification bell.
Yeah, that's it.
There'll be a pop quiz tomorrow.
Brittany, thanks so much for being here. You and your background. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I've worked very hard on the virtual background.
Mhm,
They look
yeah.
real.
They look really real. Yeah.
Sounds real too,
For,
including the mating turkey call.
And the ticks.
4K, 8K. Oh, and the tick's good, Frank. Nice.
Mm.
Mr. Andrew Orr was kind enough to join us after dinner. I'm so glad he made it. We didn't hear from him as much tonight, but maybe next time, Andrew.
Yeah, hopefully next time. I'm Andrew Orr. You can find me at the Mac Observer, where I'm writing about Apple and privacy and security and just technology in general. I am also on Twitter at Andrew or Not, where I've been posting a lot of random songs I listen to. I send Brittany Sith memes and just the usual crazy stuff to Jeff.
And I appreciate it because this is how I know you love me.
Yep.
I'm surprised you'll post that stuff in public, but that's another discussion. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. We do this every Tuesday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, both on YouTube and Facebook. We would love to have you join us. Please do. And if you are in the chat room, I want to say thank you to you guys. You were a little bit quiet tonight, but there were also a couple comments, and we always appreciate you stopping by and listening to this what always turns into a circus for some reason. I'm not sure why. Until the next time.
That explains it.
Yeah, really. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.